The receipt paper curled as it printed, slow and whiny. Behind the bar, the new Epsom clacked like it was still getting used to the place. My brother Zach stood 10 feet away, polishing a glass he'd never serve in. It smelled like bleach and orange rind, like a clean start that didn't belong to me. He looked proud. Of course he did. I can get you on Thursdays to start, he said, like he was doing me a favour and not asking me to mop floors in a bar he bought with our dead dad's money. It's funny how grief doesn't always show up with crying. Sometimes it shows up in job interviews, or in the click of a lock that used to be on your childhood garage, but now guards a walk-in freezer stacked with overpriced mezcal and lime crates. Zach called it the spillway, said it sounded rustic, local, like we were part of the town's bones. Never mind that we were born in Phoenix, raised in rentals, and had never stepped foot in this coastal dump until 6 months ago. But Zach could sell wet socks to a man drowning, and he'd always had that salesman gleam in his teeth. The bar was small, weathered wood, fake Edison bulbs, mismatched stools. Instagram ready in a town that barely used Facebook. He took one step closer. It's not glamorous, but you need the work, right? That part wasn't wrong. After Dad died, there was the usual mess. Hospice bills, probate court, that long week where we sat in folding chairs by the bed and pretended not to be waiting. When the lawyer read the will, Zach clapped me on the back like we'd won the lottery. Equal shares, just like we expected. 50-50, a little over 200 grand each after everything was split. I put mine in a high-yield account and started applying to warehouse gigs. I'd been laid off from a logistics firm a month before the funeral. I figured I'd hunker down, maybe get a roommate, maybe go back to school in a year if I could swing it. Zach, he bought a fucking bar. Didn't tell me until it was already closed. It's not just about drinks, he said that night over the phone, 3 weeks after the check cleared. It's about community. Storytelling. It's a third place, man. I'd been eating cold ravioli from the can, sitting on a beanbag I found by a dumpster. Zach, you don't know how to run a business. You've never even worked at a bar. He laughed. Neither had the guy I bought it from. He made it 2 years. You bought it from a guy who failed. Look, just come out here, see the place, smell the wood. You'll get it. I didn't get it. I showed up because I didn't want to spend another weekend with peeling paint and silence. I stayed because part of me still believed in the version of Zach that used to protect me from Dad's temper, that used to sneak me the last slice of pizza without making a thing of it. But by the time I walked into the spillway, that version of him was gone. Start you Thursday, 10 an hour, plus tips if you're on the floor. For now, mostly back end, Barback stuff. You good with that? I nodded. I hated myself for nodding, but rent was due in 10 days. And my last unemployment check had already gone to past due internet and a cracked phone screen. Pride doesn't keep the lights on. Zach grinned like we'd just sealed a handshake deal on a sports car. Attaboy. He slid a branded tee across the counter, black, with the Spillway logo in a tasteful gold font. It was still warm from the box. That first Thursday shift, I got there 20 minutes early. I stood outside for 10, waiting for him to unlock the front. The sky was doing that coastal grey-pink thing, and I watched a couple seagulls scream at a trash can near the alley. Zach pulled up in his leased Tesla, iced coffee in hand. "Hey, punctual, I like it," he said, pressing the fob to unlock. Inside, the bar still smelled like varnish and old water. I followed him into the back where the supply room was barely bigger than a walk-in closet. He tossed me a towel and pointed at the empty speed racks. Start here, then kegs. No orientation, no training, just a towel and vibes. By hour 3, my forearms burned. He hadn't mentioned the keg lift was manual, or that the mop water had to be mixed with a specific citrus degreaser he bought from a craft supplier who upcharged like it was medical-grade acid. At one point, while I was dragging a broken-down box of empty bottles toward the dumpster, a guy leaned over the bar and asked Zach if they were hiring bartenders. Zach looked at him, then at me. "We're full up," he said. "Got a great crew already." That was the first day. By week 2, I was still on barback duty, still doing the grunt work, still watching Zach flirt with every woman under 45 and take calls about brand activations, like he was running a Vegas club and not a beachside watering hole where the biggest seller was pickleback shots. One night, after close, I finally asked, "Hey, think I could take a shift on register sometime? I know how to pour." Zach was counting the till. "You're good where you are, man. You've got rhythm on the prep stuff. Don't fix what's not broken." "That's not—" I stopped. "I'm just saying I could handle more." He didn't look up. "Let's talk in a couple weeks." Got to see how the flow settles. That night, I walked home past shuttered storefronts and a laundromat with a flickering O in open. The sound of my sneakers on the pavement felt louder than it should have. A week later, I found out he was paying the new girl, Jess, $13 an hour. She worked the floor, smiled big, wore tight jeans, pulled in tips like gravity. I found out because she told me, casual over smoke break. "I thought you'd be making more," she said, exhaling toward the alley. "You've got seniority." I laughed too hard. "Not really." She tilted her head. "You're his brother." "Doesn't make me the boss." She stubbed her cigarette. "Could have fooled me." That night, I stood in the back, drying glasses with a lint-free cloth and listening to Zach make up a story about how he sourced the bar's mahogany from reclaimed hurricane wood. I wanted to break something. I wanted to tell him he didn't deserve the bar, or the inheritance, or the customers who thought he was some charming local hero who brought life back to a dead corner of town. Instead, I just folded napkins. It was a Wednesday night when Zach didn't show up. No text, no call, just radio silence until 10:30, when he sent a half-assed "running late" with a sunglasses emoji. I'd already opened the bar, stocked the wells, rolled the silverware, dealt with a clogged toilet in the men's room, and handled a walk-in birthday party of 12 that had called after opening to give us a heads up. Jess was helping, but she wasn't trained for register yet. That had apparently been next week's plan, according to the calendar Zach hadn't shared. So I floated, floor to bar to back, prep to POS. I even wiped down tables between drink runs because our actual server, Dylan, some college kid Zach hired for ambience, had called out claiming food poisoning. By close, my shirt was soaked through, my legs ached. The soles of my sneakers had a film of sticky citrus from the spilled sour mix I never got time to mop. When Zach finally walked in at midnight, he smelled like hotel soap and cologne. "You close already?" he asked, real casual, like we were just catching up on a late dinner. I didn't answer. He surveyed the bar, nodded once. "Looks good in here." I walked past him, tossed the towel in the bin, grabbed my hoodie. "Hey," he said, "you kill it tonight." I turned. "Don't ever ghost me like that again." He blinked like I'd spoken in tongues. "It was just one night." "It was a full shift with 2 people down. I handled it. Again. But this isn't a game, Zach. You disappear. I get buried." He raised his hands. Okay. I messed up. I was at that brand thing in Santa Barbara, got sucked into a tasting, and— "You're not a sommelier. You're a bar owner. You don't get to just vanish." Zach stared at me, then looked down like he was trying to pick the right chess move. "I appreciate you." "I do. You're solid, man. I knew you could handle it. I'm not your backup generator." Something shifted in his face, like he didn't like hearing me talk like that. "You saying you want out?" "No," I said. "I'm saying I want in. For real, on the floor, on the books. Give me a shift that means something." Zach leaned on the bar like we were 15 again, playing video games until our eyes burned. "You're good at the back end, best I got, but people come here for a vibe. You're not exactly—" He trailed off. "Not exactly what?" I asked. He looked away. I waited. "Never mind," he said. "Take Saturday. Jess can shadow you. You want register. You got it." I wanted to feel proud. I did. But I'd seen how fast Zach changed lanes when it suited him. I knew the Saturday shift was a test. Busiest night of the week, highest foot traffic, most potential to sink or swim. I prepped like it was a job interview, showed up early, printed out cheat sheets for the cocktail builds, organised the garnish fridge, ironed my shirt for the first time since the funeral. And for a couple hours, it actually felt like something real. The flow was tight. Jess kept pace. Tips came fast. I even got a compliment from a tourist couple who said it was the most efficient bar service they'd seen all trip. Zach didn't show until last call, of course. "Place is buzzing," he said, taking it all in like a king inspecting his castle. "Look at you." Behind the stick, I handed him the tip jar. Jess earned her cut. She was on it all night. He pulled out a wad of cash, thumbed through it. "Nice. Might have to keep you out here more often." "You saying I passed?" Zach winked. "You saying you can do it again next Saturday?" I nodded. Every Saturday, and maybe Fridays too. That was my mistake. By the third week, he'd dumped both Friday and Saturday on me. Said he was working on expanding the brand and needed the weekends to network. Translation: wine festivals, podcast tapings, and photo shoots with Instagram bartenders who referred to themselves as liquid architects. Meanwhile, I was getting barked at by bachelorette parties who couldn't believe we didn't carry elderflower liqueur. Jess quit halfway through a double when Zach forgot to approve her time off for her cousin's wedding. She left me a note. "I liked working with you. He's a prick. Good luck." Dylan ghosted the week after that, so Zach brought in a new guy, Kyle, tall, tattooed, and completely useless. Couldn't tell a Pilsner from a porter, flirted with underage girls and pocketed tips. I brought it up after close. "Kyle's not working out," I said, cracking my knuckles out of habit. Zach was already half lit, sipping from a rocks glass like he was starring in his own indie film. "He's got potential," he slurred. "He's got a look." "He's a liability." Zach frowned. "What's your problem, man?" "You're always tense." "Because I'm the only one taking this seriously." He stood up. "I built this. With my money." "Our money?" "Your cut's still in savings." "You didn't risk anything. I put it on the line. I'm the one who signed the lease, took the plunge. You just showed up." I stared at him, hard. "You're right. I did just show up, because I thought we were partners, but you don't want a partner, you want a fan club." That landed. He didn't say anything for a long beat, just swirled the ice in his glass and looked down at the counter like it might tell him what to say. "I'm not the villain here," he said finally. "No," I said, "but you're sure as hell not the hero either." The next day, I found a help-wanted flyer behind the bar, typed up, laminated, taped to the inside of the service fridge. It read, "Now hiring, bartender with positive energy, social vibe, and a team-first mindset. Apply within." I didn't say anything. I just poured myself a glass of flat Coke from the gun, stood in the back, and let it sit on my tongue until the sugar got bitter. The first customer to ask where I'd gone was the old guy with the fishing hat and the elbow scar. He came in every Thursday, ordered a Boilermaker without a word, and tipped $5 flat, no matter how long he stayed or how much he drank. I never learned his name, just what he did for a living before his knees gave out, and the way he always checked the floor for gum before picking a stool. That night, I was sitting on the beach, hoodie up, toes in the cold sand, watching the spill of lights from the spillway stretch like a bruise across the boardwalk. I could see silhouettes moving behind the front glass, could almost hear the hum of the tap running too long. My phone buzzed. "Guy with the hat just asked for you, said the drinks feel different now." "Jess?" I stared at the screen. I'd deleted Zach's number the night before, but hadn't blocked him. That felt like a line I wasn't ready to draw. Not yet. The laminated flyer was still in my jacket pocket, creased now, the tape half peeled. I found it again that morning when I'd tossed the hoodie in the laundry and the corner scratched my wrist. It didn't even mention my name. Here's what happened. I quit, not dramatically, not with shouting or a smashed bottle or some cinematic walkout, just a quiet email sent at 2 in the morning after 4 hours of staring at the ceiling, listening to the fridge click and my brain make lists I didn't want. Subject, stepping back. Body, hey Zach, this isn't working. I need space. I'm done. Nate, 4 lines, no threats, no conditions. I half expected him to reply with a thumbs up emoji or lol okay, but he didn't reply at all. Not that day, not the next, not even the week after, which weirdly helped. It told me exactly where I stood. I found other work. There's a restaurant 10 minutes up the coast, in a strip mall next to a nail salon and a vet clinic. Not fancy, but clean. Run by a couple in their 40s who still tag team the floor and wipe their own menus. They hired me as a bar lead within a week, said they liked my references. I didn't mention Zach by name, but Jess vouched for me, and I guess that was enough. The pay wasn't better, not at first, but the peace was. There was structure, there was dignity. Nobody disappeared mid-shift or flirted with minors or tried to curate vibes through Instagram reels. Just real work, done right. It's amazing how far that goes. Zach didn't show up again until the 3rd month. He stood outside the new place, squinting through the front window like he wasn't sure I'd recognize him. His hair was shorter, tan deeper. He wore one of those canvas jackets rich people think make them look blue-collar. I spotted him mid-pour and paused, setting the glass down carefully before walking out to meet him. We stood under the flickering sign, Sable Grill. Place looks solid, he said. Thanks. You like it here? I shrugged. It's not yours, so yeah. He flinched just slightly. Okay, he said. I deserve that. There was a pause. He pulled something from his coat, a folded check. I owe you. For the shifts, for everything. I didn't reach for it. Zach, don't. He looked confused. It's fair. It's late. Another beat passed. Wind kicked a candy wrapper down the sidewalk. The vet next door closed their blinds. He pocketed the check. I screwed it up. Yeah. He looked down. I thought I was doing something brave. Building something. For us. You were building for you, I said. You just didn't want to be alone when it failed. That landed harder than I meant, but I didn't take it back. Zach looked older than I remembered. Not tired exactly, just worn, like a guy who finally realized the applause was echo, not company. I sold it, he said. I blinked. The bar? He nodded. Signed the papers 2 nights ago. Some couple from Portland. They want to turn it into a vegan bistro. Name staying, though. The Spillway? He smirked. They think it sounds earthy. I couldn't help it. I laughed. So did he. It was short but real. Then he looked at me again, slower this time. I meant it, though, he said. I do owe you. If you ever need... I don't. He nodded. We stood in silence for a moment, the kind that isn't quite peace but isn't war anymore either. Then I stepped back, pushed the door open. I've got a floor to cover. Zach didn't follow. He just raised a hand in a lazy wave, turned and walked away. No music, no speech, just footsteps fading on the concrete. Later that night, Jess texted me again. He stopped by the old place, said thanks, left his bar keys in the drawer. I didn't answer, but I smiled. Not because he finally said thank you, but because I didn't need to hear it anymore.